One rookie is still learning how professional defenses work while he recovers from an injury and misses games. Additionally, she transported almost 25 of the WNBA's total revenue for the season. $36 million. Just that amount ought to make you shiver. The truth is, though, that figure doesn't tell the whole story. What Nike saw in that figure, what they captured on camera, and what they concealed are the true tale. So deep within an advertisement that hardly anyone saw. We're going to follow that thread all the way to the conclusion today because once you examine the architecture beneath what Nike actually constructed, the future of women's sports becomes unavoidably clear. This was not a basketball advertisement. It was a promotional video disguised as a business statement. Additionally, the spring 2026 shoe launch, which most people are dismissing as simply another sneaker drop, is something much more important than anyone is admitting in public. Keep going because each portion of the story builds on the one before it, and the last part is the one that makes all the difference. When Nike opened that advertisement with a driveway in Iowa, they made a very deliberate decision, and it wasn't an emotional one. When people read origin stories in athlete branding, they typically assume it's a sentimental event meant to evoke feelings of nostalgia. Prior to the start of the highlight reel, this wasn't that. Nike started with that driveway because it embodies every aspect of Caitlin Clark's competitive ethos. Once you get it, you'll notice that it appears in every business choice that her name is now associated with. Music. This is the real story. The driveway in which she was tilted when she began to shoot. It is neither structurally slanted nor somewhat unequal in a way that significantly alters how a developing shooter develops muscle memory. Your ball's trajectory changes when you practice on a sloped surface. Your release point makes the necessary adjustments. Instead of learning proper mechanics, your body begins to form routines around fixing the defect. The majority of children would have used it. The majority of adults would have advised their daughter to adjust. New concrete was poured by her father. On a surface that could genuinely support what she was attempting to produce, he constructed a regulation three-point line. At 4 years old, she wasn't requesting a fancy upgrade. She was asking for the right circumstances. Nike's entire brand is based on the dichotomy between accepting the environment as a fixed variable and adjusting to a broken environment. Consider the practical implications of that. Every coach's response was the same when they saw a young Caitlin Clark working from distances that most players had never even tried during a game. It is not going to translate. That range will be neutralized by college defenders. The shot selection will be revealed by WNBA veterans. Entire confinement techniques were created in film rooms all around the nation with the express purpose of eliminating a single guard. She drives past the coverage as the guard is 28 feet away. She takes inspiration from the emblem and respects the drive. It became impossible to solve the defensive math. She had spent hundreds of hours on that driveway, developing comfort from distances that most players had never really practiced, not because she was stronger or faster than any defense she encountered. Music. The range wasn't a ploy. It was a weapon created from a certain choice. Created throughout childhood to get rid of a defect instead of finding a workaround. Music. This pattern, a question arises, and doubt is eliminated by execution rather than debate, is not coincidental to the Nike advertisement. It is the structural blueprint for the Nike advertisement. The celebs in that advertisement weren't chosen at random. Upon examining the particular framing of their actions in the advertisement, you're witnessing Nike reconstruct every coach, analyst, and media voice that questioned if her game would translate at each successive level. Expressing skepticism, voicing doubt, and wondering whether what they're witnessing is true. The function does not change, but the faces do. Music. Doubt emerges. She shoots back. No argument, no rebuttal, simply outcomes that, when viewed in hindsight, make the skepticism seem ludicrous. A typical athlete on the surface, empowerment themes are identical, which is why casual viewers dismissed it as a clean hype video and moved on. However, many close observers saw that something was different. That emotion was true. Her shooting range was not being recorded by Nike. They were recording a pattern, a repeatable, verifiable, data-backed pattern that they fully intend to duplicate in all of their business decisions related to her. Name from now on. Fans weren't the target audience for the commercial. It was designed for investors, sponsors, and broadcast partners who required proof of concept to be given in a manner that could be used in a pitch meeting indefinitely. Because Nike recorded a proof of concept document in addition to a commercial. Additionally, no one in the industry could dispute the receipts that served as proof. This is where it becomes really challenging to understand the numbers. The economic impact of 36 million is not an estimate. It is neither a figure produced by a company paid to make an investment appear appealing, nor is it a marketing estimate. Real transactions were monitored by economists. Hotels in the cities where the Indiana Fever traveled reported seeing sellouts for WNBA regular season games that they had never seen before. On the nights she performed, restaurants close to arenas reported that music doubled their regular business volume. Vendors of merchandise achieved numbers that were previously only seen during postseason runs. In areas where there had never been such a demand for a women's basketball game, parking money skyrocketed. All of this occurred when she was recuperating from a groin injury, missing games, and still learning how professional defenses function at a level she had never encountered before. That same season, the whole WNBA, 12 teams, hundreds of players, and decades of institutional history, produced an economic effect of about 133 million. Moreover, 25 of the number came from a single rookie. Just by being in the league and being worthwhile to attend, not during a whole season or at full health. That's a figure that provides answers to any risk-related questions posed by a business board. These kinds of transactions cannot be produced solely by marketing. A well-timed press release or an effective social media strategy cannot create that kind of proven economic activity. Because real people thought it was worthwhile to go to see her play, real money is flowing through real local economies. Nike maintained going back to that figure internally because of what it represented at scale rather than because it was remarkable on its own. What would year 3 look like if a rookie in year 1, injured and still adjusting, produced 25 of the league's total revenue? What is the outcome of a full season at complete health? What happens once the shoe is available in stores and her brand's infrastructure is fully operational? They are the issues that shifted the focus of Nike's internal discussion from whether or not to invest to how quickly we can advance without compromising the long-term development. The most significant question in sports media was already addressed by the television networks before Nike had completed its internal debate about the time frame for her signature shoe. Are the ratings genuine and long-lasting? After just a few weeks of her WNBA debut, Indiana Fever games were attracting viewership figures that rival NBA regular season games. NBA averages, not WNBA averages. Suddenly, advertisers that had never thought about WNBA commercial inventory were vying for airtime during her broadcasts. Renegotiating placement was being called for by networks that had viewed women's basketball as a scheduling must. Engagement metrics that the league had actually never measured previously were reported by streaming services. Because viewership growth was occurring concurrently across categories that don't typically coincide, social media figures shifted in ways that the conventional sports analytics frameworks weren't able to fully capture. Young girls learning about basketball for the first time, as well as casual viewers who typically only watched the biggest NBA evenings, and devoted sports enthusiasts who had never seen a WNBA game. Such audience crossover is extremely uncommon and extremely beneficial to advertisers attempting to use a single spot to reach several target audiences. And Nike observed everything with the laser-like focus of a company that already knew exactly what it was looking at. Because they weren't surprised by the television statistics. They served as confirmation. Validation of information that, even before the season began, they had started to develop a franchise around. The scores weren't the proof that persuaded Nike to relocate. They served as the proof Nike needed to convince everyone else that relocation was the only sensible option. When the facts of the relationship started to emerge, Nike's CEO Elliott Hill disclosed something that wasn't in any press release. They're not making this sneaker for music her, they're making it with her. Pricing philosophy, distribution plan, design direction, and logo choices. Influences of Caitlin everything. For any Hallmark shoe collaboration, that degree of strategic and creative participation is very uncommon. However, the partnership itself wasn't what made this particular discovery noteworthy. When they reached the section of the discussion about how to market it, she insisted on it. She completely ignored the conventional signature shoe playbook. No restricted releases, no, the sneaker is out of reach for the very children who need it most due to artificial scarcity and collector pricing. When she made her demand, consider what she was opposing. The Jordan brand used exclusivity to build a multi-billion-dollar empire. Waiting lists, restricted drops, and secondary markets that view shoes as investment vehicles with high resale values make them eternally unaffordable for anyone who genuinely wants to play basketball in them. The same model is used by LeBron's line. Sneakerheads, collector territory pricing, special editions, camping outside stores, and resale marketplaces that view release days as commercial occasions. Massive per-unit margins and cultural moments that dominate news for days are produced by that playbook. It was the clear choice for the most eagerly awaited signature shoe launch in women's sports history, and it has been demonstrated that music is profitable. At first, Nike's own board opposed her. Direction. The exclusivity model is trustworthy. It has decades worth of data. When you can just apply it to a new audience and earn the profit, why give up on something that works? The statistics she was genuinely suggesting were then run. Music increased volume is a result of wider diffusion. Volume at affordable price points makes up for the decreased per-unit margin when you're marketing to a huge and mostly unexplored population. Selling limited editions to collectors who never set foot on a court and whose commitment to a product line is contingent upon its continued exclusivity creates less long-term brand value than building lifetime brand customers starting at age 8 in communities where women's basketball hardly exists. According to industry estimates, her line is already among the top 5 Hallmark franchises. Potential in every basketball category, regardless of gender. Area with 9 figures in revenue. That isn't how a specialized women's sports product is projected. That is the course of a popular worldwide franchise based on the particular reasoning that, in a market that hasn't yet been fully opened, accessibility at scale outweighs exclusivity at margin. From the beginning, she also advocated for worldwide distribution. Not as a test market, not as a phase 2. And not as an afterthought that is dealt with once the domestic launch is verified to be successful. Caitlin maintained that the shoe's international launch was an essential component of the strategy, not an add-on, from the start of the strategic dialogue. Additionally, the commercial's China viewpoint wasn't ornamental. Nike runs enormous production facilities and infrastructure for retail in Asia. There is existing operational capacity to transfer goods at scale in those markets. Demand for a women's basketball signature shoe based on a player that those markets actually cared about following has hardly ever existed in those areas. In the past, women's basketball's trademark shoes have not made any significant inroads into Asian markets. Not because there was no infrastructure, and not because basketball didn't pique the interest of the spectators. They undoubtedly are, but because the player hadn't yet emerged and whose narrative had transcended cultural barriers in the manner required to naturally create that type of demand, her distribution strategy is consistent with everything else she does, both on and off the court. Music without reach, visibility is only noise. A shoe that is advertised worldwide, but it's not a worldwide rollout. There will be worldwide marketing expenditures associated with this domestic launch. Because the conventional playbook advised moving slowly into uncharted areas, she recognized this distinction and refused to accept the version of this that left markets open. Here, too, the driveway reasoning holds true. Instead of adjusting to the restriction, get rid of it. This is the business decision that the majority of people completely overlooked when the launch date for spring 2026 was revealed. Music, every marketing manual out there advises taking advantage of momentum right away. She is named the Rookie of the Year. Start the show. In her first season, she achieved record viewership figures. Start the show. Retail partners' need for inventories. Investors seeking activation, as well as Nike's internal teams pointing to the current cultural moment. While her name was dominating headlines and her tale was being recounted everywhere at once, everything pointed to her speedy release. Rather, They decided on spring 2026, which is 18 months after her WNBA debut. The most important signal in the whole event is that delay, which hardly anyone took seriously. Before releasing the Air Jordan 1, Nike studied Michael Jordan's career path for years. Jordan wasn't prepared at the time of the release. Jordan was prepared. It was about creating the narrative framework necessary to sustain a franchise rather than just a shoe. The same reasoning applied to LeBron's first signature shoe. Prior to it, Nike had invested years. Release using purposeful narrative construction to establish him as a generational figure. The story had been told long enough to be indisputable when the shoe arrived. That trend was repeated by every trademark shoe that went beyond a simple product introduction to become a cultural franchise. The hype cycle was less important than timing. That is precisely the reasoning behind Caitlin's delay. Her first season demonstrated the idea, but a single season validates an idea. A franchise is not confirmed by it. The confirmation Nike needed before committing to a multi-year global activation came from her second season, when defenses arrived with a full off-season of film study. The novelty factor had time to fade. And the question was no longer whether she was exciting, but rather whether the impact was sustainable. Because there will be 2 complete seasons of confirmed economic data by spring 2026. Instead of focusing on occasional surges, television ratings are monitored over several years. Growth in the audience is measured over time. A sophomore campaign that would have required Nike to react or demonstrated that her influence endures when defenses change. Music, you can tell exactly what that sophomore season produced by the fact that the launch went forward as planned. It's not a shoe launch. That's a ready-made franchise activation. There is a significant long-term performance difference between the two factors. It's the whole ball game. From a strategic perspective, this is what makes the commercial itself truly spectacular. Music, it was designed to concurrently convey 2 very different messages to 2 completely different audiences. Additionally, because the first message was sufficiently well executed to satisfy casual viewers, almost anyone paid attention to the second. A tidy promo video is seen by casual fans. Excellent shots, star appearances, and an emotionally compelling origin narrative. High quality, standard athlete empowerment stuff. It's enjoyable to watch. You give it to others. The athlete makes you feel fantastic. You could purchase a game ticket. That part of the advertisement performs precisely as one might anticipate from a cursory glance. However, anyone who devotes significant effort to researching the economics of women's sports, sponsors assessing the viability of a media purchase, broadcast partners choosing whether to boost their investment in WNBA inventory, and foreign retail partners choosing whether to give priority to shelves room for a basketball product for women. In the same 2.5 minutes, the viewers witnessed something very different. They observed actual viewership numbers presented as a cultural narrative, which served as evidence of the audience. They witnessed evidence of consistent demand and 2 seasons of economic impact presented as an origin story. They saw that what appeared to be a brand contained a roadmap, price strategy, distribution philosophy, and timeframe framing. Narrative. Nike did not argue in front of a boardroom that women's basketball should receive funding because it is culturally significant or because the players have put in enough effort to merit it. In their commercial, they displayed the receipts and let the numbers speak for themselves. Music, this strategy prioritizes outcomes over rhetoric, execution over argument, and meticulously reflects the commercial's topic. Music, that was how it was purposefully put together. The narrative of Caitlin Clark's journey from an Iowa sloping driveway is more than just an interesting beginning. It serves as the foundation for the most strategically patient brand development in the history of women's sports. Additionally, every aspect of what Nike has built around her brand adheres to the underlying logic of that structure with a consistency that is very uncommon in a sector that typically forgoes long-term posture for momentary momentum. There was no cap on the $36 million. It was a baseline measurement made under the most unfavorable circumstances. Defense is still in its initial year of analyzing an injured athlete with an unfinished season. In order to provide a validated baseline against which everything that follows can be evaluated. There is no profit reduction in the affordable shoe pricing. It's a market growth strategy aimed at a worldwide audience of prospective lifetime consumers in areas and demographics that the exclusivity model was never able to reach. The reason for the delayed launch timing isn't reluctance. Rather, it's positioning music to make sure the franchise activates on confirmed ground instead of predicted ground. Music, what was formerly thought to be the sole domain of men's sports, is now being occupied by women's basketball. Real transnational infrastructure supporting global brands. 9-figure sales predictions for franchise-level signature shoe lines. Billion-dollar cultural footprints that alter how advertisers and broadcasters value entire leagues. Nike has now provided us with an unprecedented level of detail, and the majority of people who viewed the advertisement quickly moved past the precise time and route they plan to take. The shoe will be released in the spring of 2026. However, whether the WNBA's infrastructure can sustain the commercial wave Nike is building toward is the true question that will determine if this becomes the most significant moment in women's sports business history or merely a very good start. Alongside her first 2 seasons, the league had significant growth. The media coverage increased, the attendance figures shifted, and the television deals improved, but a Nike franchise activation at the size they intend to concurrently stress test every component of that infrastructure. International licensing regimes, broadcast capacity, retail supply chains, and arenas will all be under unprecedented demand at the same time. That's the next part of the narrative, and that's what will determine whether the tsunami Nike is creating ends up being larger than the structure designed to accommodate it or if the foundation holds. Avoid when the music drops, I'll miss it.